Watch this.
And welcome, and thanks for joining us to this special edition of the 208. I'm Brian Holmes. You know, we've met hundreds of people from in and around the Gem State over the years of doing this show. And tonight, well, we're going to reintroduce you to a few of them, including a handful of high school graduates we first met back in 2023, looking back on the last dozen or so years of their lives. The last few of those years under the cloud of COVID. So we wanted to talk to a few of those outgoing graduates and about the next few. Our first stop was Midvale, Idaho, which is known for two things, being halfway to halfway Oregon and home to former Senator Larry Craig. Well, so now they can add a graduating class, at least in 2023, that wouldn't be big enough to field a baseball team. Yep, we spoke with half the graduating class of the halfway to halfway high school. Smack in the middle of Washington County, at the edge of the valley for which it's named, sits Midvale, Idaho, a place where fewer than 200 people and a lot of cows call home. Agriculture's roots run deep here, as does the high schools, which has served the community since 1911. There isn't much to it, just 90 lockers, a handful of classrooms, and 2 state title banners won in the last 3 years. It also has one of the smallest graduating classes in southern Idaho. So we sat down with half of them.
I feel like that's so awkward.
To ask a few questions.
Do I just look forward?
About where they've been.
Just a little.
And where they're going.
I don't like this.
Beginning with, what's it like?
I've never done this before, so.
Living in such a small town.
It's just kind of slow. My name is Marian Hansen, and I am 17 years old.
Everybody kind of knows everybody.
Everyone's really pretty much related to each other, whether through family or through marriage or through blood, but we're all pretty much related.
Everyone knows everything about everyone else. It's the most, I guess, stereotypical thing you could say, but it is the most accurate thing.
It's just the same thing. It's predictable. It's just the same thing every day. You know, you wake up, you go to school, you go to practice, and then you come home, and then you just do that until you graduate.
Class of 23.
Yes.
Class of 23 sounds a lot bigger than it really is. How many are graduating with you?
8.
Just 8?
Just 8.
4 girls and 4 boys.
Crazy, huh?
Not here.
To us, it's kind of just a normal day.
In a school where most have seen the same faces in class every day.
Since preschool.
It is a long time with the same people. That is very true.
Downside, we're like brothers and sisters. You know, good days, bad days. My name is Trenton Hicks. I am 18, and I am in the graduating class of 2023. Sometimes you want to give each other a hug. Sometimes you don't want to touch each other with a 10-foot pole.
You went to high school during a pandemic.
Yeah, so it was my freshman year. I remember it was spring break, and I remember sitting in my room and my mom telling me that we weren't going to go back to school because of COVID.
It was, my freshman year. So I remember I was like, am I not going to go to high school for the rest of my high school career? My name is Manon Tyler, and I am 17 years old. My mom's kind of a clean freak and a germaphobe, so I wasn't able to see any of my friends at all during COVID. I think it was July before I got to actually do stuff. And I just remember seeing people who were always so calm about things and very collected, and they were freaking out. And I was like, whoa, this is crazy.
I was like, there's a bad sickness going around. I'm like, oh, well, there's the flu and all that. It can't be much different. And then it shut everything down. And you couldn't go anywhere, you couldn't go to school, couldn't see people.
Was it hard for you?
Yeah, don't let me go to online school again. That's all I got to say for that one.
I did online school, and then I also did driver's ed at that time. And I was able to do all of that from home, which was nice because I think it helped my grades a little bit because they were a little more lenient with the pandemic. My name is Hadley Atnip, and I am 17 years old. I really think that they overanalyzed the pandemic. For some people, I do think it could have been a big deal, but for others, I feel like it could just be a normal thing, you know.
We came back the next year, the next fall, and nothing happened. We didn't have any restrictions. We didn't have to wear a mask. We didn't have to stay 6 feet from anyone. So I guess it wasn't any different. We just had a really long spring break.
It was definitely different, but it was way more normal compared to what a lot of other kids had to go through.
It's weird to think that in 15 years are gonna write like a history book on this, and like I'll be like, oh my gosh, like when like kids talk about it, I'll be like, yeah, I lived through like that is gonna be weird to think about. But I guess I've never really thought about that until just now.
Next year, you're going to be 18.
I am.
There's an election.
There is an election.
Have you thought about that? I mean, you're going to be in your first election.
I am. I remember thinking when I turn 18, I get to vote, and that is the coolest thing ever. But then, especially this year that I'm getting closer to turning 18 and being a technical adult, I guess, I'm like I actually have to make a good decision based on what I prefer. And then I also have to consider other people's opinions. And I was like, there's a lot of thinking to that. I'm
still trying to figure out what I'm gonna eat for breakfast tomorrow, so.
Like in government, when we talk about like election and stuff, it goes through one year and out the other because I don't know anything about politics. I don't really care for them. So like I might vote, but I don't really care for it. That probably sounds really bad. But like, I don't know, I've never thought about it.
Are you worried about having to make those decisions and what they might lead to?
I'm terrified, I really am, because personally I feel like I don't have a lot of knowledge on that. And I think especially in smaller schools, there's a little bit of a bias, which is, I'm not saying is bad or good, I'm just saying that's what it is when you grow up in a small community and school. And so I think that there's definitely been a little bit of lack of education and I think a lot of people my age can agree to that, or what your parents tell you.
When your family gets together and talks politics, what do they talk about?
I don't really know. I just always hear Joe Biden's name and like COVID and like the shot, like the COVID shot. That's all we talk about. I don't know. It's just so boring to me. But yeah.
Like I never asked about politics that much, but I'd always listen to my parents talking about the elections and everything and talking about how this person's doing in the election or this person, and I just kind of learned like this is the best way, not the left side. So.
Have you thought much about like being able to participate in your first election?
I've thought about it a little bit. I feel like it was kind of rigged, the last election, if I'm going to be honest.
I am grateful enough that I grew up with a family that kind of educated me in different aspects. I definitely was raised to understand other people and get that your life is not the only thing that's happening. There's way bigger things and different cultures and races and just ideas and religions, and there's so many different things, and I'm excited to like one-on-one experience that.
What about the world that you are inheriting? What about where you're heading into? Are you
terrifying? It's absolutely terrifying. It is so scary. I think that social media makes it way more difficult and scarier than it is, but I also think that there's a lot of things that social media doesn't cover that are even scarier. I'm scared to have kids and a family and raise them because things seem difficult now. Who knows what it'll be like in 20 years, 15, 10, it's just crazy.
What's the outlook for the class of 2023?
I've never really thought about that either.
Oh, where do I see myself? Everybody asks me that, and I don't know, because I want to say that I'll be succeeding. But at the same time, I mean, I just never know.
Okay, so you're going to go to college. Mm-hmm. What's it going to be like leaving this place and going to the big city of Pocatello?
I'm scared. I'm going to be completely honest. I'm really scared. I'm also excited on the part where I get to meet new people and hopefully kind of find my crowd, I guess, and kind of see what life is like outside of Midvale.
Yeah.
So it's exciting.
Are you worried about the future?
Not really. I mean, I want to do this on my own, and I want to get my license, and I want to get my dream job and just live out the rest of my life doing it until I don't want to work anymore.
I have a plan, but I don't have a plan. I have a 5-year plan, but not like a right now plan, you know? And I feel like if you're more worried about what's gonna happen in the future, I feel like you're not even gonna know what's happening right now. When I have kids, I don't want them to be like, oh, what did you do when this happened? I don't wanna be like, oh, I don't remember. I wanna tell them what happened, what life was like when I was a teenager, and not be worried about all this political stuff that's happening in the world. If you don't think about it, then it doesn't get heavy.
When we last spoke with Maren, she told us she was excited to move in with her sister in Rexburg and attend BYU, Idaho to study zoology. She wants to be a wildlife biologist. Amanda told us she planned to go to Weber State to study criminal justice and sociology. She wanted to get into family law. Hadley was headed to Pocatello to attend Idaho State. She told us she wanted to be an occupational therapist. And Trenton, he told us he was the first in his family to graduate high school. He wants to get his pilot's license from Treasure Valley Community College and just kind of work in the area. Neither of the girls said they see themselves moving back to Midvale anytime soon. So we'll see how that plays out. Well, one man's trash is one Marsing man's massive collection of wrenches. That's coming up next. Welcome back to our 208 special edition. You know, as a boy growing up in the concrete jungle of downtown Los Angeles, Pete Rathbone dreamed of getting his hands in the dirt, and he wanted a future in farming. So after graduating from one of the top ag schools in the country, that'd be the Agricultural and Mechanical College of Texas, Pete couldn't wait to get his hands on his own farm, which he did by buying some property near the Snake River in the 1950s. And that's where he grew seed and sugar beets for more than 40 years. It was during that time Pete started getting his hands on something else. Still farm-related, but probably something you didn't even know existed unless you are of a certain age or of a certain career. Pete Rathbone turned a boredom of antiquing into decades of hands-on accumulating certain hand tools. So many, he created his own museum in his own backyard in Marsing. The well-worn walk across the gravel driveway is a standard for Sherry Fanning, because on the other end of her stroll
Finally found us, huh?
Yeah.
is where she usually finds her partner Pete,
You guys can get closer, you know.
inside the old converted farm shed. Pete, you got a lot of stuff in here.
Yeah,
Converted
there's a lot of stuff in here, all right.
to keep stock of Pete Rathbone's stockpile of stuff.
Didn't realize it until not too long ago. I've been a collector all my life.
Hand planters to implement seats to sugar sacks to corn shellers. That's how that works.
That's how that works. Don't ever let me buy another corn sheller. I've got all the corn shellers I want.
However, Pete can't say the same thing
Or you could adjust them.
about wrenches. So this is it.
Well, this is it. It isn't the largest collection in the world, but it's the only one that's hung up in alphabetical order by a company.
Rows and rows
Starts on the second row, goes around.
and walls
Well,
wrapped in wrenches.
my late wife really hammered on me to concentrate on wrenches.
So this is her.
And yeah,
There are some that are exactly the same and some that are really rare.
some of them are.
But all were standard issue farm equipment pre-World War II.
When you bought a mowing machine or a rake or a sulky plow or cultivator, they gave you a wrench to fit all the nuts on it.
Pete became a nut sometime in the mid-1980s while following his wife around to antique shops.
And the gal noticed I was a little bit bored. And she said, you ought to get your husband interested in collecting. Mine collects alligator wrenches. I didn't know what an alligator wrench was. That's those ugly ones up there on the top in the center.
Well, Pete was hooked,
I'm the only guy that's got one of these.
and he's been ratcheting up his collection since. Okay, so what's the grand total?
Well, I think there's between 5,000 and 6,000 out here.
You haven't counted?
Well, I counted a long time ago and around 5,000, but they're hard to count.
I mean, when you got them, you got to flaunt them. How much would you say you spent on all of these?
Oh, God. Woo, a lot.
Pete may not know the total value of what he has in bent metal, but
I've got one
he knows a few.
right over there. I gave $7,000 for it.
$7,000.
I haven't told many people that, but yeah.
And the Texas A&M alum will gladly tell anyone that stops by the Our Lucky Star Farm Museum in Marsing.
Oh, yeah, we had the RVers in here last week, and about 20 of them, and
Or he'll just show them one of the 4 books he's written about wrenches.
the history of old-time implement companies and the wrenches they issued.
Who finds this useful?
Wrench collectors.
Pete's met and made friends of many of them over the years.
Oh, I have a friend in Nebraska that he buys them by the 55-gallon barrel full. It was a friend of mine in Tennessee paid $20,000. I had a friend in Waterloo, Iowa.
But none with a compilation like this.
Most guys have them in buckets and barrels underneath the workbench.
Pete credits wrenches with putting a twist on his retirement years.
Well, you have to have a hobby. You know, a lot of these old guys, they get so old and they don't have anything to do and they just die. So you need something to keep the interest up.
And that's just how Sherry sees it.
And I think people that have interests are interesting people.
Which is good, since Pete, who's pushing 91 years of age,
1925.
isn't planning on pushing away from his hobby anytime soon. Is there a quit when it comes to this?
No, there's no quit for this. I mean, you know, why quit?
Why quit? Just keep filling it up, right? Pete sold off his farming business back in the mid-1990s when it was either, well, go big or get out. So he got out, and that left him plenty of time to travel in his hunt for his historic wrenches. And yes, Pete has written 4 of those history of old implement companies and wrenches they issued books, telling us he pumped $65,000 into that first edition. But he says he's also sold 34 of them, so I guess it pays off, which is why he's currently working on his 5th volume. You know, a mullet might include, well, party in the back, but one kid from Wilder, he is all business when it comes to competing for the best mullet around. Welcome back to this special edition of the 208. Their forelocks cropped, hair grown long at the backs. That quote is from Homer's The Iliad. So it seems the mullet made its mark long before Mel Gibson's Lethal Weapon days. It bounced from 8th century BC to the 1980s, centuries without rearing its ugly head. But now, mere decades after that, hockey hair, the Kentucky waterfall, the Missouri Compromise, it's back again. And it's celebrated with a national mullet contest. And once again, the Gem State is well represented, with 2 Idaho kids trimmed with a Tennessee top hat for the USA Mullet Championship. It's an online competition to honor the achy, breaky, mistakey. Tate Reeve from Twin Falls, a.k.a. the Curly Tate, and Dylan Lisby, a.k.a. Mad Dog Jax. Those are the 2. Aspen Shumpert met Mad Dog Jax on his home turf in Marsing to see how he keeps his Camaro crash helmet high and tight.
It's a fight of the follicles, and 9-year-old Dylan Lisby from Wilder, Idaho, thinks he has a shot. He's entered himself and his mullet into the USA Mullet Competition. It's for sure spiky business in the front and a long party in the back, but Dylan says it's hard to be so handsome.
Sometimes the tangles are not bad, but then every time I go out of the pool, they're hurting me. Every time I try to brush it, it hurts so bad.
And mornings are the worst.
It's like a rat nest, messy, all over the place. I usually have to, because the bag just stakes up, so I just have to spray it with the spray bottle and then brush it down.
His stage name is Mad Dog Jax, a tribute to his late father.
He died on a motorcycle accident, and I swore. The Mad Dog came from my dad's initials, Mad Dog, and my middle name's Jax, that my dad named from this movie.
His mom also passed before Dylan was 2 years old, but Grandma is his biggest cheerleader. Dylan only trusts one shop to trim his due, Blade Slinger Barber Shop in Marsing. The first time Dylan walked into Blade Slinger was after he had cut his own bangs.
It's very off-center. It didn't look mullet-y, so we re-established the mullet, trimmed off his sides. We started doing designs on both sides.
Kyle says Dylan's hair grows fast. They're trimming every 3 to 4 weeks.
The designs, we couldn't even see them. It was time to tighten them up.
I asked Dylan what he likes about Kyle.
He has a cool beard. He does nice haircuts. He's pretty good.
After about 2 years with his mullet, Dylan's not sure if it's here to stay forever.
Yesterday I was moving a whole lot of tires and stuff, and I was just dripping sweat.
But if he wins the big bucks this year, he's giving half to his 27-year-old sister, the other half to fix up his dad's blue Durango.
You just gotta figure out how much it is to fix it.
Barber Kyle is ready for whatever hairdo is next.
I keep whispering in his ear whenever Grandma's not paying attention. Don't worry, we'll cut your mullet off whenever.
You know, we cover a lot of history of Idaho here on the 208, so it's safe to say the show is generational. But we never expected to meet such a big fan from our newest generation. You know, we're lucky enough to meet a lot of people here on the 208, out on assignments, in our off time, sometimes through social media, including 4-year-old Henry, who, as it turns out, is a major 208 fan. Well, Joe Paris brings us the time that Henry and his family came for a visit.
Since he was little, Henry Watterson has been a big fan of watching the news. Some kids like cartoons. Others?
I said I want to watch 208.
He even tries out the role at home.
I am Joe Paris, Mommy.
You are?
And this TVB computer.
Following along in real time.
Hi.
When we found out about Henry's status as loyal viewer, we were honored. He wanted to visit the team. He already had the perfect red Circle 7 pin. He fit right in.
This is the cool room here.
Oh my
What happens behind the scenes at KTVB and on the 208? We thought Henry and his family would love to see the TV magic.
Yeah.
Even getting to meet his favorites, like Justin Korn and Brian Holmes. Henry got to flip the script too, from 208 viewer to contributor. What's some news you've heard lately?
The 208.
208?
Yes.
His little sister Billy, right at his side.
Yes.
Our team loves doing the 208 for all viewers. Viewers young like Henry and more tenured viewers who text us all the time. All of them who are passionate about the community we all love.
Yes.
Some days are tough. Others, though, they remind us all why we do it. Henry's infectious smile will keep us going for a long, long time.
What's that button you got on your shirt?
KTVB.
Like I said, Henry, you fit in perfectly right here on the 208. We will always save you a seat right here at the news desk.
It's cool to know that Henry catches the 208 on YouTube, which is where you can find it. We put all of our shows, in case you miss it, at 5 o'clock every Monday through Friday on our YouTube channel. But thanks for joining us for this special edition of the 208. We are super excited to meet more of you, more from around the 208. Until then, watch the 208 weekdays at 5 and also at ktvb.com.